Hey everybody, welcome to another question and answer, and thank you for putting up with us this week. Weren't here Monday, we're here now, and Patrick, you're well advertised that, right, Patrick?
Yes, so this was like a.
So we have slowed a little bit. We're thinking about different ways of teaching classes. Patrick and I were just talking about it. We may be teaching in a sofa class, so it looks like inflation in the economy. I was telling Patrick before we started, you have to pay attention to these things in business, even in small business, big businesses too, all businesses. You really do have to pay attention to what's going on in the market. I mean, I'm looking right now at a summer where there's going to be higher oil costs or gasoline costs. Patrick, I don't know if you know that. I'm trying to plan for the summer now in case we're on a skid now with estimating. So what I've been noticing is a lot of the estimates that we're giving, we're getting a lot of, wow, that's expensive, or wow, that's out of my price range, or wow, I don't have that money right now. And so that's a little different than even, a couple of months ago. So I'm starting to see that doesn't mean that people don't have the money. It's their confidence levels are going down a little bit, right, Patrick? So I'm really tuned into this. So what we do as a small business, we could turn on a dime. So I'm thinking about, and I get your input, especially from, I don't know if Esquire Upholstery's on here, Patrick, or other people that we have, Malcolm or anybody else. I'll run it by, see what they think. But what we're going to do, and I think this is very creative. It's just an example. I don't mind telling you guys of how to be creative. So I'm thinking about running a sofa class, but without the sofas. So the problem that's always stopped us before is space issues. So you can imagine you get 10 people with 10 sofas in a space. You're going to definitely need, roughly off the top of my head, that's got to be that's got to be about 5,000 square feet, believe it or not. Let's see, 500 for two, 1,000 for four, and then maybe about 4,000 square feet or 5,000 square feet. Seriously, when you think about it, you need two horses set up, and you need to be walking around, and then you're going to need your cutting tables and things like that. So the brilliant idea that I had today was we're going to offer a class over the summer, sofa class. But what we're going to do is we're going to run it out of our small shop in Arlington, and we're going to have people come in. We'll have cutting tables set up. We'll have a few more sewing machines up. Right now, I don't have the sewing machine even in this. It's downstairs. We're going to bring those up, and we're going to have people measure their sofas at home, and we're going to have them do a lot of homework. Is what we're going to do. But we're going to be able to set them up in a way that they're going to be able to do the sofa at home. So the way we do this, or the way I will do it, and I've done it before, is kind of like a slipcover / upholstery. I don't want to get into full slipcovers, although we could do that. We could do a full slipcover, but I think it would be easier or better to teach, and easier to teach, to do a half slipcover, half upholstery. So that's what my plan is right now. So what we could do now, because it's a little slow right now, we can get this class advertised quickly, and then have people sign up. With the instruction is one thing, and then we do insist. We would encourage people to buy our own fabric and supplies and tools and all that before the class starts. So it'd be a way just to give us a little bit more of an income right now, and then plan and for the summer. I have a nice summer where people come in and do that. So that's what my thoughts are right now. And we started a new service where we're referring restoration services. We have a company that we really partnered with and that we really love, and they're really unbelievably good at restoration, all types of restoration, fine arts, chandeliers, refinishing. They do all kinds of different. They do metal work. They do bookbinding. It's full extensive, and we have that advertised, right, Patrick?
Yes.
And we've referred out at least 4 or 5 referrals. We just started this. We've already done referrals, 4 or 5, maybe even 6, half dozen. So that will be good. That's a good way to generate a little buzz, a little excitement. So you always have to be thinking about this. I've known people who have kind of hit their plateau, and they kind of like rest on their laurels. Have you ever heard that expression, Patrick?
Yes.
Resting on your laurels. That's not a good idea. You always, in small business or any business, in my opinion, you always have to kind of be reinventing yourself. So this is it. So we're going to create a buzz. Patrick, and we're gonna go for it. For instance, we won Best of Boston in 2018, Patrick. You very rarely hear me talk about that because that you hear the expression, "What have you done for me lately?" Right? It's great that we won that and that. Yeah, and that was fun, wasn't it? Winning that.
Yeah, it was cool.
It was
I
fun.
had it posted everywhere. I haven't
Yeah.
advertised everywhere, so
It's fun, and people do use that, but you have to be careful not to kind of rest on your laurels and say, "Hey, I won Best of Boston," but how many years ago? 5 years ago?
I can't believe it was so long.
I know, I can't either. It seems like it was just yesterday. So you always have to be reinventing yourself. So that's another thing that's going on at the shop. So if you've noticed, the YouTube videos have fallen off. That's a result of us focusing a little bit more on the shop and what we can do to become more, just to get more of a piece of the market. Let's face it, that's what we're trying to do with our existing price points. So I really don't want to go down in price. That's one thing. I don't want to get into a volume business because that will affect a little bit of the quality. So these are the things you're juggling. You're always juggling these things. Who said that? I think Janine commented on you either diversify or die. I think she said in one of the comments, Patrick.
Mm-hmm.
That was a couple of weeks ago. I do want to point out this chair. I want to mention this chair now. Moving on a little bit. This chair has the original horsehair on it, which is incredible. Original horsehair fabric. This is definitely an 1860-ish. Think Abraham Lincoln in this country. I think it's a really old piece, and it's really been well preserved. And I'm in the middle of a
It
restoration.
looks kind of like the other ones you had here that were blow.
That's true. Yeah. So that's ongoing. We have work, but we do have work. We have about, I would say, Patrick, we have about, let's see if I have to right off, about 4 weeks worth of work.
That's good. As long as and then it's weird. It's like this business is so unique that way. One minute you think it's slow and you're telling me it's slow, and then the next month we explode with work.
Well, we're a small business, remember? So
Yeah,
if we get 2 or 3 big jobs in a row, then we're busy.
It's just funny how that works. I don't know if it has to do with seasons. It just kind of happens.
But there is more competition. People are asking about price more, and a lot of times it's the psychology. Did people lose money? Did they? My customers probably there's a psychology there where. People do maybe even subconsciously use what's going on in the world to kind of negotiate more with pricing.
Well, it happens in real estate.
That's right. Well, that's the real world too. I guess we're living in the real world also, but we are.
It's funny. I think you could go back. I'm sure the viewers will tell us to each of our Q&As. Which one starts off with you saying we're slow, and how many start off with you saying, "Oh, we're so busy this week, guys. We can't."
It's good though to have your pulse in your own business.
I know. It's just.
You always have to be looking.
Hopefully, those weeks where we're busy are more than the ones we're slow.
Keep in mind we're 4 weeks now, but we were about 12 to 14 weeks, Patrick, over the winter time, I think.
Right.
So that's an indication right there. Now it is Easter week, and the phone has stopped a little bit. Maybe that's the reason. It's Passover. There's all these religious holidays, so that could be the reason why too. So we're not panicking yet.
Like you said, we're always doing new stuff. So
the new stuff this time, I was thinking about these pop-up, stores that and I remember we had some friends that opened up a pop-up Halloween store, for instance, and there was a great buzz in those, and they had people dressed as characters outside on a main busy highway, and that was exciting. Yeah, remember that, Patrick?
Yeah.
They were, what were they dressed up as? The wavy guy, right? The big wavy guy with the signs and
Statue of Liberty.
Yeah,
the tax guy.
So they go in for pop up for 2 months, and that's a big influx of cash or money. And that could be a way of sustaining yourself. I think that's what I'm trying to do this summer. I'm trying to think of a way, not a Halloween store.
Sure?
No, I'm trying to think of a way to use what we have, not spend money. That's the key. You can't spend money, but look at a way to have one of these like pop-up stores and to that's buzz that's created with.
Well, everyone's
with this
been
type
asking,
of
why
stuff.
don't you do a pop-up class?
That's-
Travel somewhere and do a pop-up class.
Patrick, if this works,
I know Nico would go.
this is our test. If this works with any type of furniture, up to sectionals, small chairs and everything,
Yeah.
where people just come to us. And see, we were always thinking, I don't know why I didn't think about this before. We were always thinking how we would need a huge space if 20 people showed up with 20 sofas and chairs. You couldn't do it. I was thinking about this big top tent and crazy stuff. But if they do, they're coming to you. Remember, they're coming to you for your expertise on how to do it. So you don't necessarily have the physical piece. You don't need it. You can give instruction, and I believe I can do this. I can do it with paper. I can do it with chalkboard. I can do it with cutting tables and sewing machines. That's about it. Really. I mean, what would require some up? And if this works locally in our little shop, our little 500-600 square foot shop, that's something you could take on the road very easily. Very easily, right?
Nico says, "What about Zoom classes? We did try that.
Yeah, it
just
didn't work.
Did not work. It's
It
impossible.
didn't work. The translation, we tried it, and we had somebody helping us.
Erica
Was a good sport, but it wasn't her
kind
fault.
Of a guinea pig in a way.
It wasn't her
I felt
fault.
bad because we. Sorry, go ahead.
It wasn't her fault at all.
No,
I think it was more my fault. The teaching, it was really weird teaching through Zoom because you know how the weathermen, if you've seen, I just watched that movie, Groundhog Day. Did you ever see that movie, Patrick?
I haven't. It's
With Bill Murray?
Yeah, it's
And-
another
and-
classic.
And he was a weatherman in that, and they were showing the green screen and how, you have to work backwards in it. And Zoom classes are like that. So I would say, go to the left arm, and she'd go to the right arm. I said, no, the other arm. It was that little bit of disconnect was a big problem. That was a big problem. So Zoom classes won't work, but we thank you for the suggestion. I think definitely live classes.
Yeah, and
So-
we only did that because of what was going on at the time. We couldn't do
Right.
class. It's always
Right.
better, I think, to do it in person.
So I think if this works, Pat, I hope I'm getting you excited about this because you're always bugging me about traveling, and you are a traveler. So if this works, it wouldn't be too much to load everything into a small U-Haul and go anywhere in the country or in the world for that matter, really, if it works, right?
Yeah, I think we'd have to be a case where we sell tickets beforehand. Obviously, you can't.
Well,
risk
this is
going
what
and no one's.
this is also easy to do over the website. We have a website that we have a store in. We just sell it on the store.
Right.
And I
We have
think-
to figure out how much it costs to get there.
You know what? I'm going to tell you right now, live. I think we're going to work this out and post it. Let's do this now. We're promising it now. We've been promising things, but it's tied into what I was originally the reason I started. We've been busy with doing other things, so we have not done a lot of YouTube videos. And we have not, in the live class we do every week, which is, I consider kind of a video, right, Patrick, for the channel?
Yeah.
Is it? Right.
Yeah,
So,
those will. That's one of the things we've stayed.
so aren't we doing one a week? You said we're doing none a week, but isn't this kind of a...
Yeah.
And I know we talk a little bit about, business, we talk about upholstery, we talk about other things. I mean, but I think if anybody owns a shop or even a DIY person, I think they might be interested in some of the things that we feature, which we're about to talk about Facebook. We've got a couple of submissions. And I'm going to go over some old invoices because we need material today.
Oh no.
What? What?
The old school paper.
The old school paper. Hey, you know what?
I'm already falling asleep.
This old school paper, I'm telling
People
you,
like this though.
keeps me honest. It keeps me honest because my little chicken scratch on there tells me exactly what I need to do on the piece and little notes. Little notes. Let's
Like
just
Jimmy now.
tell this. So that one of my advertisers calling me. That's Yelp calling me, and Yelp is I consider them a partner, a partner that I have to pay, obviously, and I do pay for Yelp. I should tell you guys that. I think that even on a basic, I think it's important for any small business. There's some issues with it, but I won't go too deep into it. But they have been very persistent lately with me increasing advertising. I just can't do it right now. I'm at my limit right now. So these are the other issues that you're dealing with. You got to work out budgets. You got to work out, there's managerial, there's employees that you have to, pretty much take care of. And I mean, there's the whole long list of things. And then you have to do the work. And a lot of times I'm left, I can go through a couple of hours in the morning and not be working, just taking care of all these other things, try to get work and other things. But anyhow, let's get to the Facebook because this one's very interesting. We're going to get to Tracy first, Patrick. Tracy says, has anyone had, oh, by the way, can you read Jill's, is Jill on there, Patrick?
I didn't see anything.
We kind of missed Jill. I feel bad about that. Can you answer her?
What was that posted?
You know what? I can't get on my Facebook. Excuse me, you guys. Can you get on my Facebook with that phone, please?
Well, where is it? Where was it posted? I gotta find it.
Joe's, I think it was, she emailed us. So I told her like 2 weeks ago that if she can tune into this show and then comment live with her question, that would be great. But I think she didn't understand me, so she didn't watch the show, or she watched it. She watched it after we did it, and she said she didn't hear me talk about her question. But I was asking her, Patrick, to do it live. That's where the mistake happened. So
I can't.
if you could find Jill on in the emails, that would be great. Anyhow, getting to Tracy. Tracy says, has anyone had their jute webbing relax overnight? When I first read this, I thought she said FedEx, and I thought she was talking about having you FedExed overnight. But she said, I obviously wasn't reading it slow, and I was reading it fast. So has anyone had their jute webbing relax overnight, not FedEx? Question mark. I attached new webbing. I have the answer to this, and it's kind of sad. There's a couple of things going on here. I attached new webbing from front to back and had to come back and finish side to side after work the next day. The webbing I stretched the day before was loose. All of the tacks was still in and nothing had come loose. So there's a couple of things she's leaving out, Tracy, if she's listening. First of all, did you have the red webbing, which is the stronger of the two? The black webbing I don't even use. Black webbing they call back webbing, but that's not even good on back. It's not good for anything, really. I don't use it. I use the red webbing for everything. Because it's, now that said, the red webbing I have noticed, I have a real good, you can imagine, upholsterers are very good tactile, right? I can tell from the thickness of the red webbing has gotten cheap. It's not the red webbing, so even the seat webbing has cheapened a little bit. It's still better than any black webbing, but that red jute webbing, the red striped jute webbing has gotten a little bit, quality-wise, it's gone down like everything else, especially in the natural fiber world, I notice. So that could be what's going on. She may not be stretching it tight enough. She's using tacks. Tacks are great, and that's the traditional method. However, remember, that was a traditional method using a heavier jute webbing. So it worked then, but with this webbing now, the tacks could be an issue. Stapling, when you staple something, you're doing a bridge. That's about 1/2 of an inch, right, guys and girls? 1/2 of an inch bridge on each side. So when you staple something, you're stapling the whole width. You're doing 2 rows of stapling. You're stapling the whole width. Whereas the tacks, you really can't put tacks right next to one another. They're spaced, and you have a space. With the staples, you can actually do it without any spacing in between. So that's 2 things that could go wrong. So I need more information. If she can follow up, that would be great. The other thing that could be going on, she might be webbing around or in an inside back that has a little bit of a curve on it. And she maybe didn't notice. Sometimes it's curved both ways. It's curved this way and it's curved this way. So she may have a curve that she was contending with. And in some cases, a curve, when you web over a curve and you web with the webbing stretcher, you could do it too tight. So that could be a reason. But there's a couple of things going on here. So upholstery is interesting that way. There's so many little subtleties, and it's kind of like cooking. I equate it a lot of times with being a good cook. A good cook knows his or her ingredients. And, you hear about a pinch of salt or a pinch of oregano and things like that. And just the right recipe. And upholstery is the same thing. And the right equipment and the right materials that you use, things like that. I have a chair, for instance, that came to me that they want all organic material. So I can't use foam. And I have to do an upholstered seat. Well, you need, on this upholstered seat, because it was a loose cushion before, I need to make up at least a 4 or 5 inch difference with what? I can use horsehair, but I didn't like the idea of horsehair. So what I do is I made a down cushion. over the spring work. I didn't put big springs in. I put number one springs, and I did a 4-inch nice down cushion, a real substantial down cushion, and I put a really thick layer, one layer of AAA cotton over that, and then I put muslin over that to tighten it up. You wouldn't believe how beautiful this seat is. So there was a challenge there. Foam would have been much easier, but the customer doesn't want any foam. There must be an allergy there. I didn't really go into it, but I don't ask questions, especially if they're paying me. But I came up with a good solution for her for the seat. The seat's the hardest, really, when you think about it, guys. Seats are where 80 to 90% of your weight is that's where most of the comfort comes in, and that's where most of your complaints will come in if you don't do it properly. So that's the hardest part, the seat, and that comprises sometimes the seat and the seat cushion over the top, or an upholstered seat. Either way, you have to be about 17 inches off the floor. So you have to find a way. Our job is to make people comfortable in all different sizes too, by the way. So a good design and a good upholsterer can seat somebody from 5'2" to 6'9", and the poundage. I won't comment on that. But 100 pounds to 300 pounds, let's say. That's the goal of any good upholsterer. And framing and the materials that you use have to be substantial. So that was a good one. The next one I'm kind of excited. I always love seeing some of our DIY people. I think Brad might have his own shop, Patrick. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Brad always posts some cool stuff.
Brad posted my first and only attempt at buttoning, and I think for what he has here, this is really hard. He's got some nice tight, tufted buttoning there.
Yeah,
really
Jimmy should
tight.
check that out, because I know he wants to do that for his
Isn't
next
that nice? Who?
Jimmy should check that out, because I know he wanted to do that for his next.
Yeah, we might have a sofa for Jimmy. Somebody called
Yeah,
him
I
for a
heard that,
donation, an Empire sofa. Jimmy
cool.
might get that.
You text him?
No, yeah, but the woman's
See,
she's gonna text me. So I think Brad did a great job. Any questions or comments or anything, Patrick, yet?
I'm going to catch you up here. Let's see. So Malcolm was talking about foam and polyester
Yeah.
price increases.
Oh, yeah. Because of the because of the petroleum, do you think?
He says it may increase again as well. Of course, right?
You know what? I didn't even think about that. It's so here we are. This is what inflation is, I guess. I'm not an economist, right, Malcolm? But when things start to go up and people are starting to watch their money and thinking that they don't have that extra money to pay, isn't that a double whammy for us? We're caught in the middle here a lot of times, right?
That's crazy.
We're paying more for our supplies, but our customers and they are right now, like I said. We're starting to hear a lot of, that's expensive. Wow, that's expensive. I don't have the money, blah, blah, blah. So what do you do? Well, maybe what you do is teach classes. Well, I was thinking about just having inflation. I haven't got to this point yet. But maybe to advertise these classes, actually, maybe it is a good time. Maybe it's a good time to advertise, save money. Maybe we should be introducing that in our advertising, Patrick. With the classes, huh?
They have fun doing it too. So
Well, they have fun doing it. Meet new people. Hear my dull stories. Maybe they can get a little.
Let's leave that part out.
Anyhow, so any other questions or comments, Patrick? Thank you, Malcolm, by the way, for coming and for this odd day that we have. I appreciate that.
Yep.
So I wanted to try to give people an idea of demographics of my shop, and if you're not familiar with my area I think most people know where Boston is, and I'm outside Boston. I'm about 9 minutes from downtown Boston. I'm two towns over, right, Patrick? 2 towns. You got Cambridge and Boston, right? I'm 2 towns over from
should
Boston.
know this off the top of our head.
We are. So I'm close. I'm close to Boston, and I have another surrounding. I'd say within a 10-mile radius of most of our customers, although that we have customers that come further away for sure. But the bulk of our customers are about a 10-mile radius. So what I want to do with these are last year's invoices. I just want to read to you some of the jobs that came in, and I know. I'm doing this specifically. There's a few people like Janine, who, Janine, you're not going to get the picture, but what Janine's been doing, Patrick, she's been taking you know how we hold the picture up and Mikhail and I will be doing this in a little
she
while.
saves it, right?
She takes a picture. What's that called when you take a picture? Snapshot. Screenshot.
Yeah.
Takes a screenshot and she puts in what I'd say about the labor cost, and she's saving all those so that she has a reference. And she's in Australia. I don't know how she adjusts to her economy. I don't know if it's more or less. I'm
So I
not
think
sure.
you really got to look at these Q&As more of not an upholstery show of you upholstering, but more of the upholstery business.
Oh yeah, you
I
guys,
think it's-
we talk a lot about business. We've talked about how we had a YouTube video, Patrick, about how to operate a small business. People are commenting on that, saying they're using that, by the way.
Yeah.
But we talk, and so when you're looking at the old Q&A, it'd be interesting to see the dates. And then Patrick talks about me saying, "Oh, it's busy," or "Oh, it's not busy."
Yeah.
Well, that's the ebb and flow of a small business.
Well, my whole point of that is there's got to be a trend, right?
Well, that's maybe we should look at our own question and answers to see what time of year. It never used to be.
We don't even know.
It used to be that you could predict this, but you can't. It used to be all holiday based. Summertime, people went away; they still go away. So that's one thing. But it seemed like recently, like within the last 5, 6, 7 years, it was hard to kind of chart this. But we should go back and see if we can. It's important to chart this. It's important. So I'm going to go over a few of these, and then Michaela's going to come in. We didn't think we had a lot of material, but actually, Patrick, we do.
A lot of business stuff.
So there's YouTube. Let's talk about YouTube. We had some comments, but they were all complimentary. Have we had any disparaging remarks? Is there anything like? We had somebody that
Someone
said,
"Who's this clown?"
we did have somebody that said, and I said, what do you mean by clown? What am I here to amuse you, or what is that?
They said, "Get him off of there."
And somebody said, if he just shuts up, it would be better. And then Patrick said, well, I should just put the mute button on. Oh, and then somebody did
They
say
said,
that.
they said, "Who's that weird guy with the Boston accent?"
Somebody did say that, and then somebody else said, he explains things. You let him talk. But the best is Jimmy on the online classes. I did want to mention, if you're watching this for the first time, the online classes are your best. They're your best value anywhere, I think, on YouTube or in the real world. Even I would even go so far as to say I think it's better than most. I think it's better than most classes, in-house classes that you could take, Patrick, because you have the video once you buy it. You can rewind it. You can watch it anytime, and you can hear Jimmy. Jimmy,
Only if you want to.
Jimmy's
Crazy.
Jimmy's an expert apprentice. Let's say that. If it wasn't for Jimmy, the classes wouldn't be as
And
good.
he's very behaved in the online classes.
Yeah, we have to. Patrick's got his finger on the what do they call that?
Mute button.
The mute button, and he also has the blur, the funny face blur, and he has 3 of them ready, one for the face and one for each hand, right, Patrick?
Sometimes sometimes I gotta tell him to be more animated in the classes.
He's made a couple of mistakes though, but he's a good guy. He was in my class last night. I should tell you, I had a great class last night. Let me tell you, it was a beautiful day, beautiful night in Boston. The moon was out, stars were out. I have a sign lit up, Upholstery, because it is upholstery on Broadway. It just says Upholstery, 2 floodlights. The door's open. We're on Broadway. It's kind of a busy street. People going by, and I step back sometimes and go outside to look in, and I got everybody busy, and it's kind of fun. And we had such a varied group last night, Patrick, and Jimmy was in the class. But at one point, this little boy was at the door, and this was at night. It was like 7 o'clock at night, so it was getting a little dark. And I said, "How you doing, buddy?" And there was like three of my students were there, and I have another class, I have two rooms, Jimmy and another student in the back. And so I went back in which I came back, and the little boy was still there. I said, "How you doing, buddy?" And he says, he didn't say anything. And then I went back again, and my 2 students in the front, they were gone. And the boy was gone. I said, "What's going on here?" Well, the little boy was lost. If we didn't have the door open, Patrick, that little boy might who knows what would have happened. So the 2 guys, they found the father was looking for him somewhere. They found him, and they brought the boy back. But those are some of the exciting things that happen when creating that buzz. I wish I had more energy to do this every night, Patrick. Yeah. I mean, I think it's important. I think it's important for people to see it really, instead of, there are other people in town who have believe it or not, are in phase one of a pandemic.
I wouldn't say there's only like one.
Well,
Not
but
even say
that
some people.
one kind of it gives this vibe out, and there's, never. I won't go too far into
Yeah,
it, but this.
I've been through this.
I couldn't believe the contrast in businesses. I'm open, the door's open, we got people working away, we got the lights on, we got Broadway, we're exciting. As exciting as an upholstery shop can be, anyhow. But anyhow, any questions or comments before I get going, Patrick?
Yeah, Malcolm's been talking about some interesting stuff here.
Yeah, why don't you read what Malcolm is saying?
Because he said, I attended a webinar recently about natural upholstery.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. By the NUA.
Wow.
Good lecture on non-synthetic materials. And you actually told somebody, we got a call, and you said we're organic upholstery. Remember that? Doug?
I got that job.
You did?
Because nobody does, we could do every kind of upholstery, and I could do organic upholstery. What is it? It's just using natural fibers. It's pre World War II treatments is what it is. Post World War II is usually associated with more synthetics.
So Malcolm, we're pretty much doing that.
We do both.
Yeah. And he said, consumer prices generally go up quickly but come down very slowly.
That's
Being the
right.
only upholstery shop in your area offering natural materials may be worth your while. So
Yeah, Malcolm. It just, as a matter of fact, I just got a job. You know what's interesting about this, Malcolm, and for all you guys out there, I think people are willing to pay more. Keep this in mind. I think the price points are higher. I mean, honestly, the labor is more too. Let's face it.
And also fabrics made in the U.S.
Fabrics made in the U.S. That we hear from Michaela. Michaela, can you elaborate on what you just said? Because
We have a lot of customers that they're always asking about, they want fabrics made in the U.S. and they don't like how it's all made in China.
oh, no kidding.
Some have even gone elsewhere because we don't have enough fabrics that are made in the U.S.
Okay, so we have to keep that in mind. But what about? Do you have all organic fabric though, Michaela? That's
Recycled.
you have recycled. That's even better. But I have found, just I'll be, a little disclaimer here, recycled, and we did work. I did work on a fabric that was a organic fabric, all natural fabric, and neither one of these is that great. I think the recycled one is better than the organic fabrics, Michaela, the all natural fabrics, and they build the all natural fabrics. I'm not sure if you know this, Michaela, is that you could take the fabric and wrap your tomato plants with it, and it won't cause any harm. The fabric will melt in, supposedly, will melt into the soil. This is very attractive to a small percentage of people, I admit. I don't think, Patrick, it's a lot of people asking me this. That was the first call I got in a long time. Now, but
did they actually say they
Yeah.
wanted organic?
Yes.
upholstery? No,
They asked-
They said they were
they
allergic to
didn't
something.
they didn't use that word. They wanted it was all natural. I'm the one that said organic.
Yeah, they said I think they were allergic to the glue.
Yeah.
They said, yeah.
I said, no, we don't. Actually, I don't like using the glue. I do use it occasionally on foam cushions to wrap Dacron with, but I don't like the use of glue either. I mean, you see those spray cans at the shop, Patrick?
Yeah.
Those last a long time. They're not being used. Some
The
shops,
fumes that come off of them.
you go into some shops and they have the pneumatic guns attached to glue bottles that spray that leave a mist in the air. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Gotta wear like a painter's mask or something.
Oh man, and you're in that. You leave there. You're high as a kite when you leave there. It's like going into one of the local squares.
Oh,
and
Mikhail, I remember we sprayed it here. We couldn't come in here for 2 days.
yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
Can't. We don't like, not in enclosed areas. It's not. I don't like using it. But anyhow, anything else there?
Hey, Texas. Wow, from Texas. Howdy.
Hey, Texas. I love Texas. I always wanted to. We went to Texas, didn't we,
We did
Patrick?
go to Texas.
We went through
For
Texas.
the NBA All-Star game.
Didn't we go to the Alamo?
No, it's the other side of the state.
So-
2010 we went there.
We went to Dallas.
Yep.
And where else did we go? We went through Texas.
Yeah, I've been to Texas I think 3 times.
Wow. Love the South. We love the Midwest. Oh, man, the Midwest.
You were talking about traveling for class. I think our first stop is going to have to be Wisconsin.
You know what?
Randy.
I bet Randy would support
He's
us.
not here now, but
I bet we could call. I bet there's enough people that know us that we could call. I know Blair would love us down in Alabama. Blair would have us down there in a heartbeat. And Blair's that young man that started. He told me, I love to tell this story. He started in his living room watching my videos, doing small jobs. So, because I asked him, he became very successful. I asked him about square footage. He said, well, I started with 40 square feet. Then I went to 400 square feet. This is working space. Then I went to 4,000 square feet. No, he went from 40 to 4, don't quote me on this, 40 to 400 to 2,000 to 4. It's like 4 steps because he went into another store, Patrick. He expanded another time. Do you believe that?
Cool.
And he's been posting like crazy. You should check him out, Blair Gilly on Facebook.
So, Wow says, I'll be visiting the Boston area on Memorial Day. We'll stop by. You don't. The shop doesn't have this.
Yeah.
It said, are you planning on any closed days? You can come by even when the shop's open.
Yeah. Is he an upholsterer?
I don't know. But
Well, we
they'll
had
be up here between the 24th and Sunday.
Blair.
In May. End of May.
Blair came up and he
He made a video.
he made a video. He's looking. This is where it all started, and we took a picture outside the shop. He's a good kid. By the way, the red button's on here, Patrick.
Oh, you're kidding.
No.
I just changed it.
What's that mean? Oh, it's going to blow up. All right, so let's get to some of these invoices that I have from last year. Last year was a fairly good year.
Before you start, let me
Yeah.
just.
Hold on,
You
you
still
guys.
talk because the mic will be on.
Okay, so we're going to start off on a job in the next town over, and this was 2 wing chairs. They were wicker wing chairs, and these were difficult chairs. They were wicker and they were wing chairs, and we got $1,200 each for those, and we estimated 17 yards of fabric. And actually, with that order, we sold 2 new 50-50 down feather cushions on that. So people still can hear me right now, right? Are you done?
You're back. Yeah.
And so there's another thing I wanted to mention. I'm not really pushing. I'm not big on pushing cushioning. I'm always, if somebody is comfortable in a piece, I don't look for trouble. And, so in other words, I don't push a spring and down cushion on somebody that's comfortable in the chair. Why do that? You do the spring and down cushion, you change the seating, they don't like it, they might come back, and you want to try to avoid returns like that. So I'm very careful about the extras. Sometimes I'm offering free pickup and delivery. If I see somebody's on the fence, I'm trying to do a little bit of, maneuvering there in a sales. I mean, you do have to be a salesman, let's face it. Some of us don't like being a salesman, but you really do have to be a salesman. I mean, you're selling yourself, you're selling your reputation, certainly. People are coming to you because they've seen your good reputation. They know you're a good upholsterer, but that's not enough sometimes. They want to feel good about a purchase because there's a lot of competition. Like I said, there's another guy that's doing it for half price down the street. Or there's a major box store offering fantastic prices and financing. But I heard an ad the other day, Patrick, for a new roofing.
Right.
They're offering,
Which we need.
get a new roof. Guess how much a month? $115 a month. But it must be 20 years that you're paying for it.
Wow.
I mean, people don't, and I'm one included. I've done it. You look at the financing and you look at how cheap it is. And, guess what? One of those big box stores, you know what they were advertising, Patrick? Free furniture. Free furniture, big headline, free furniture. Of course, there's a little asterisk. A little, yeah, right, it's not. But the marketing, you guys, Patrick and I are clever. Michaela's good. I mean, we come up with these ideas, but we are not, we're not these marketers that have got, people go to good schools to learn marketing, Patrick. People go, Brown University has a wonderful marketing division school that they teach. I mean, this is degree. You get degrees in marketing. We don't have a degree in marketing, Patrick.
I'd say we're doing pretty good considering.
We're doing okay, but I bet we could do a little bit better if we did have those degrees. But, we know our own business for sure. That helps. But
Let me update you here. Malcolm says, here in Arizona, there's a newsletter magazine just for the natural market segment. find the same in your area to advertise natural organic upholstery. I never thought of even advertising it. I think we should maybe at
I
least
think
put
we
it somewhere on the
should.
site.
I think we should. I think in Arizona, though, Malcolm, I think you're dealing with more people, I think, who are of that ink.
Yeah, we got that in
Right.
South Dakota. It's the same way.
But that's good. I like that. But I think around, they in other words, they walk the talk. They walk talk the walk. I think I got it backwards. But I find that people are more dominated here by pricing. Pricing. It's not necessarily what you're going to do. It's what you're going to do for me. Okay, so let's get to Ann. So that's Ann. I talked about that. So cushioning. I did sell 2 new cushions. That was a good order. That was a good job. So the total job was, and we sold fabric too for that. So let me see. So just roughly, and an ottoman. So that's 27. And the cushions were 3, that's 26, and then 36, 38. So it was about a $3,800 job. That's pretty good. So the next one is a club chair and a bench cushion. We got $1,100 and $790 for a bench. And the total labor on that was $1,890. And did we sell fabric for that? Let me see. Yes, we did. We sold 14 yards of fabric on that. It doesn't show the price, but what I like to see so far, those 2 we sold fabrics, and we kind of made a decision on COMs. And how long ago was that we finally made a real firm decision on customers' own material? Michaela, do you remember that was when you started selling fabrics? Or you came on board, how long ago was that?
Like 2 years.
Huh?
2 years.
2 years. So we kind of made a solid decision. We don't say no COMs. We say we upcharge, right, Michaela?
Yeah.
So we discourage it. We encourage our own fabrics because we know our own fabrics. We don't know your fabric. We don't like doing it. We need to see it first of all before you buy it, before you bring it to us. And there's an upcharge. Usually when we mention upcharge, they're gone, right, Michaela? They're looking for somebody else that won't upcharge. But you have to upcharge somewhat. So that was a tough decision at the time. I think looking back at it, it was a good decision. Now, is it going to be a good decision moving forward after what I said in the beginning of this show? I'm not sure. So we might have to revisit. That because when you're slow, getting one half of the job, meaning the labor, is better than nothing at all. So we're not at that point yet. I'd rather not do that, but who knows? So then we come on to 3 cushions. That we just had the labor. We just did the labor on that, and that was a total of $540 plus 6 yards of fabric. So the 6 yards of fabric was 5. Well, I'm not sure what that was because we don't have the receipt, but another fabric and labor job. So that's good. That's last year. And then we have a chair. It doesn't say. It says. It's just to give you an idea. My chicken scratch, what I write on this. Why Patrick's making fun of these slips. But when you do everything on the computer, I guarantee that you forget to put things down. You're talking to the customer. This is live when I'm doing these. I'm talking to the customer. There is a disconnect. I don't care how good you are typing, Patrick, or anybody else. There's a disconnect between that computer when you're writing and when you're talking to the customer. First of all, you have to take I think you take your eyes off your customer more when you're doing the computer. I think when you're talking to a customer, it's easy. I can almost write while I'm talking to the customer because we'll be going back and forth. Okay, do you like it the way it is now? No, I don't want the skirt. Okay, do you not want the skirt? Do you want a base welt? What's a base welt? A base welt is a welting underneath. Do you want the buttons? There's buttons. Like this one here says no buttons in the back, no other changes. So that was pretty simple. But there can be sometimes I'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7 notes on here because sometimes people want to change style, and sometimes it's based on the fabric, right, Michaela? So you could have I have a fabric now at the shop. It's a beautiful print, and it's owls. It's beautiful. It's the organic lady, Patrick.
Oh, cool.
And I find it interesting that I have the owl fabric, and underneath that we have the down. So we keep with the bird theme there, right, Pat?
Didn't realize that. I'm so used to thinking about down. I forget what it's actually from.
Oh yeah, the geese. It's actually down for people. I don't know. I bet all our upholstery friends know that. But the down on a goose is the puffy stuff right underneath here in this area of the goose, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the feathers are everywhere else. And you don't necessarily want 100% down in any cushion. You want 50% feather and 50% down. And Patrick had a great display at the shop. He's got these see-through cubes, these plastic cubes that show the down and the feather separately, so that people know what they're buying. I think that was a good idea, Patrick, so people can actually see what they're buying. So that was a good job. That was a chair for $875 and 6 yards of fabric. Again, so we're batting 1,000 on our preferred jobs, which is fabric and labor, right? And here's Tony. This was just one rocker, web on the top, border, the needlepoint. So that was an interesting job, where they wanted to save the needlepoint, but I had to make a border around the needlepoint. Which what I simply did was I just took a whole piece of fabric, laid the needlepoint on, and then just sewed around the edge of the needlepoint. You can't fold the needlepoint, so that's really your only option. And then upholstered it onto the rock, which I only charged Tony $300. So that was a small rock, a small job. Sometimes I like those little jobs. Usually it's a job. So I think that was her grandmother's. So it's a sentimental piece. So now I got a really good job. I love these jobs. This is from Concord, Massachusetts, which is a little further away. It's on the other side. Well, people know Concord, right? It's on the other side of Lexington. It's a mid-century 4-seater sofa with bolsters. That was $2,600. And then we sold new foam and Dacron on the back. That was another $900. So that came to $3,500 plus 22 yards of fabric. That was a good job. Good job. Gloria, and this is an interesting 10 cushions to fill. $250. I have no idea what that was. That's very cheap, Patrick.
Was that from 2000 or something?
It was from 2000. It was from last year. I think that was just a courtesy. Once in a while, you guys, you do these courtesy things, and it sounds to me like, and I'll be truthful. Sometimes I'll do a favor. I'll make a button for somebody. I don't do it as much now as I could do it before, because we stopped doing repairs, which may be another thing we might have to revisit, Patrick. So when somebody calls, they're kind of a nuisance in some ways. They want one button made, or they want a cushion stuffed. They have the filling. They want you to stuff it. But sometimes I've gotten my best reviews on things like that, Patrick.
Yeah.
Do you know that?
I always go back to doing them.
So that's being in a community and being a storefront and being in a mixed use part of the community, which is even residential and commercial. Sometimes you want to be helpful that way. I don't know how many little pieces of foam that I've given away for an elderly person or a relative of that's elderly, that's used as a booster seat. I can't tell you how many times I've done that. We have scrap foam. It's not going to kill us to give some, and not I don't charge for it sometimes, most of the time. This is an unusual job. It was 2 medical tables that I can't stand. Medical tables.
I remember that one.
They are really hard, and you never make up your money on it. And there's always caveats like, well, the doctor's in Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, so you're going to have to come in here at night or early morning on a Tuesday or Wednesday, but you can never do it on blah, 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 blah. It's a long list of when you can do it. Well, when you can take it, if you're lucky to take it, if it can be taken, a lot of times they're stationary, so I don't do a lot of them. That was a favor to a doctor that I knew. So now I got 2 favors here. 1, 2. Right, Patrick? You
Hope
can,
it doesn't continue. I don't know why we're not.
we don't, like,
We're slow.
you can't do too many of these favors. Any questions, comments before I keep going, Patrick? I'm not going to go through all of these.
Malcolm says, too often good marketing is on the borderline of fraud. I agree.
Isn't that interesting? You know, it's interesting he should say that because I do have a problem with it. I wouldn't call it fraud, but I think there are sophisticated people, and I think that there are unsophisticated people. I would include myself in that. I mean, really, there are some people who are very clever at extracting money from others, and I don't know if it's fraud. I don't think it's fraud, but I think it's borderline it's dishonest, I think, or morally is it right, for instance, to advertise free furniture or to advertise really low furniture with your payments, with your extended payments. Don't pay anything now. Wait a year and then pay. You know, isn't that really taking advantage of somebody's lack of sophistication when it comes to what interest rates are and everything, Patrick?
Yeah.
You know, a lot of us don't. Most of us, I think, fall into that trap, especially if we don't have the money to begin with, right? And we make these
That's
decisions.
what they're preying on.
Yeah, we want nice things. We all want nice things around us. I'd like a nice new sofa. Believe it or not, I don't get to do a lot of my own furniture, right, Patrick? I don't even have an armchair to sit on right now. I had a customer's chair that I was sitting on.
We got lucky with a couch.
We got lucky with we got a used sofa. Believe it or not, it was a nice one. Well, we know what a nice sofa is. This really has worked out well for us, Patrick.
Yeah, it's a good one.
But I'm looking for an armchair myself. But I'm not going to go and extended 24-month payments on. I don't care how cheap it looks like up front. So I think I agree with Malcolm. I think I do agree, but I'm not sure if it's fraud or just taking advantage. I'll tell you if you want to go into it a little bit more deeply. So when they started opening up these casinos out west, and I'm going to just say it, I equate some of these box stores, I won't mention any names, with what the casinos did. And I think they've taken a page from the casinos. And I think what the casinos did was they hired every type of ologist you can think of, psychologist, what are the other psychiatrists, ists and ologists. So did I say sociologist, psychologist, psychiatrist, every type of behavioral neurologist, every type of behavioral, Freudian, you name it, all that. And they asked them, they just said, we want people to come, we want people to stay. What do we do? And they went down a long list, and a lot of it's attached to what we like, our brains are drawn to, or what stimulates us, like the noises, the smells, the lights, whatever you do, make sure that you set up like a maze when you walk in. If you notice, you walk into a lot of these places that they want to keep you. So it's like a maze. You're walking through, and I don't know how they get away with it with the fire department, but there's not many exits that you can. There's not many ways of getting directly out. Let's put it that way.
As you can see, at least.
Right. So you're walking through. It's to keep you there. The longer they have you as a captive, the more likely they are to sell you. Now, is that an honest approach to business? I ask you, right? We're doing everything wrong, Patrick. We have a storefront.
Set up a maze.
I just told you I had my door open, so people could leave anytime. I don't know.
That
you
is
guys.
true, though.
I don't know.
Even the car dealerships don't have you like that.
No, it is. So I don't know, Malcolm. I don't think it's fraud, but I think it's disingenuous to say the least, right? So is he commenting about that? I like Malcolm smart. Marjorie, this is a Stickley chair we did, a real Stickley chair. We got $525. Stickley chairs don't have a lot of upholstery, as you guys know. So you're not getting a lot for the Stickley chairs. But they're fun to do. I like doing them, and they really come out nice. It's funny, you don't get much labor and you don't get much fabric on them. Some jobs are just like that. I'm glad everything's not stickly. I mean, it's one thing we gotta be grateful for is fully upholstered sofas and chairs, right? You get more money for that, and you get more fabric for that. So, Patrick, how deep are we into this? How long are we into
About
this?
an hour in.
Let's get Bernice. Let's get Michaela in here before we
Bernice
go.
too, at some point.
Yeah, let's get. I didn't get through. This represents. Is this half of last year's, Michaela? Is this a quarter?
Probably,
This is about a quarter of last year, and out of this, I only read this much. So we had a pretty good year last year. We can't complain, Patrick. We paid all of our employees. We kept the lights on. We made a lot of people happy. I mean, I'm talking, if I just look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4, I don't know, 60, 70 people in here, or maybe 80, 8, 6, 20. We're talking hundreds of people that we made happy, right?
Yeah.
So hey, we're doing pretty good that way. So why don't you come on up here, Michaela, and read what we got. This is Janine likes this part where we show pictures. Yeah, isn't that funny, Patrick? I had the door wide open, fresh air coming in, right? The last thing you want in a casino is fresh air.
Complete opposite.
You don't want fresh air. And it really is a little deceitful, you guys, Malcolm. You know, what they do is and other companies are guilty of this too. They actually, the memories, they trigger memories in people. And when you trigger good memories, people they tend to buy more. For instance, you walk into some, like, clothing stores, Michaela. Can you talk to me about the smells when you come into a clothing store? That you know that they use perfumes. Do you know that? Do you know
How
that?
did we get talking about that?
Do you know that they use because it's tied into business.
That's funny.
You know, if I were a devious person, you know what I would do, Patrick? I would have a perfume machine right up over the door, right? It would sending off all the smells, including.
Let's get to Malcolm's question before you go crazy.
What is it?
Do you periodically revisit your profit margin based upon the increased cost of materials versus what you are able to bill?
I got a confession to make, Malcolm. I don't know what he's talking about. And this is where I fail. I don't. Malcolm is
Malcolm, do it in, what's that called, layman's terms.
I do.
Rephrase that.
We don't do that. Patrick, you're the associate's degree in business. Maybe you should be doing that.
Oh,
Maybe
I
you
see how it is. They're getting on me.
Maybe you should ask Malcolm how he does that. Just.
Malcolm says, what should an upholstery shop smell like? Hemp?
Oh no, the smells have nothing to do with what you're selling, Malcolm. So it really is serious.
Oh yeah, you were talking about how they pump in like
So you know what
cotton
they
candy
do?
smell.
Yeah, cotton candy. There you go. How many of us love the country fair, especially in Arizona? You're with your mama and dada, if you like it, or uncle, or
I think
whatever.
you should pump a manure smell because you were selling horsehair. So
No, that wouldn't work.
It
But and then all of a sudden you're taken back to that carnival atmosphere with mama and dada when you're 7 years old and life is good and there's apples and there's flowers blossoming, and then you see that guy standing there, that big guy with the glasses and his fabric books, and you want to buy everything. You think I'm kidding you. I'm not kidding about this. I wouldn't do it. But there's a coffee store. I won't mention the name, but it's a box coffee store. It doesn't begin with S either. But listen to this, Malcolm. You're not going to believe this. Now, at a certain age group, it doesn't work. But there's still a tactile thing about this. But this is let me explain.
Well, do you want me to, before you do that,
Yeah.
he'd follow it up.
What?
He said you can track your increase in materials annually and your gross billings to make sure you are covering your cost increases. So you do that.
No, I don't. I don't do that.
Oops.
All I know is I pay people and I make a little money and everybody's happy, and at the end of the day I got nothing. That's the way small business works.
Well, let's get on to that.
But Malcolm, I bet Malcolm is he's got some degree there or something, or somebody is, or he's got a good understanding. We should be doing that analysis, but we don't have anybody on staff that knows how to do that, Patrick. So maybe what we'll do is look at what he said and do a little studying on that. because I think it's important. But let me tell you another example of how you can manipulate people into buying and to coming and to keep coming back to the same place. So this, is there something else you want to say, Pat?
Well, no, I just was reading what they were saying. I like that smell too.
What smell?
Fresh cut wood.
Fresh cut wood.
And leather.
New jeans.
New jeans. But now one store that's a 3-letter word, a clothing store, begins with the G and ends with the P, and the middle letter is a vowel. You go into there and you get, this smell comes down. You know what? It's the smell of new clothes. But it's not really smelling from the new clothes. It's smelling from some type of perfume machine they have overhead. Seriously. That, or that they spread.
The fabric does smell. I mean,
No, we don't get it. So come on, Michaela. Honestly, when you come into our shop, what do you be nice now? And be nice. And when what do you?
we probably
say?
shouldn't comment on it. You know.
I don't really smell anything.
We don't smell like. Once in a
No,
while,
I smell cigarette smoke from down the street.
that's bad. I don't even want to talk about that. No,
That's only if the door's left open.
I have a little spray there. What's that called? That spray Febreze.
Right.
Once in a while, I get a can of that, and I'll spray it around before class comes in, just to make people feel nice. Oh, I'm guilty of it, Patrick.
Yeah, Malcolm says, sorry, he's following up here. Your accountant can help you with that. We do have an accountant, so you might want to mention that too.
We have a new account. We've lost. So there's another thing that happened in the pandemic, you guys. I lost my accountant and my bookkeeper. They didn't die, but they just
They didn't lose.
They had enough.
Lost.
they just walked away. They didn't want any more business or something. I don't know. They were in a better position than me. They retired. But anyhow, this
So
one.
yeah, we'll definitely mention that to the accountant.
So this coffee store, you come in and they kind of, cattle you into this little alleyway like this big. There's a wall here, and then there's their counter with all their goodies here, and on the floor there's a wooden floor, and what they did was they built a subfloor underneath, it's hollow, in other words, that when you step on the wooden planks, it creaks. It creaks. Do you know what store I'm talking about?
Yeah,
It creaks, and guess what? It's like an old country store. And for people in a certain age group like me, I remember these old country stores that you go into. They have them out the Midwest, Patrick, still, right? And that's what you would hear. And the funny thing about that is that the noise and the actual feel of that, the creaking through the bottom of your feet, is actually comforting. It's actually kind of cool. And I find myself kind of, when I'm in there, when I'm standing there waiting for the people to wait on me, I'm moving my feet around to try to make the noise, to try to make the creaking noise. Well, why did they do that? Can you tell me why they did that? It's to give you that home feeling.
So let me go over to the shop and loosen up all the floorboards.
No, I don't think that's going to work. Our floorboards will trip people. Anyhow, here we go, right, Michaela? We got some important business now. Okay, ready?
That first one, Aubrey.
Yeah, this is an important one to answer because it's a good job. I'm going to show a picture of this. This is a Restoration Hardware chair, you guys, that I have not seen. This is their new product. It looks like it's got chrome, like a darkened chrome. And what they want is they want to turn it into that. Okay? So I already called her first, Michaela, before I answered this email.
Okay.
Because I had to talk to them. If you look at the difference, you guys, there's the Restoration Hardware. There's their mock-up. Restoration Hardware doesn't have this one. They want me to make it look like this. So the red flags go up right away because that's a rendition. That's an artist rendition, right? That's an artist that's done that. But that looks as solid as a block of foam. Okay. And when you go back, I love this. And see, I'm going to do. I had to do a lot of thinking. And I had to call them before we answered this because this is a problem from a design standpoint. I get you guys might already figure this out. You're sitting at a dining room table. What happens to the back of your legs? Most people don't sit with straight down, right? They sit with a lot of times they're putting their feet angled underneath the chair, right? So what's going to happen if this is a hard treatment, right? That's not gonna work. It's ridiculous, right? So one of the biggest functions of a chair is comfort, right? So what I did was I called her, I said, you have to make this a soft, they want it, like a
Amigo
slip
says
cover.
slipcover, she said?
They wanted half, they wanted a slipcover appearance. So I said, yeah, but you also want people to be able to sit down. You wouldn't be able to sit on this. You ever sit on anything that doesn't have an opening? See the way your feet are now? Your feet are angled underneath that, at about a 10-degree angle underneath that chair. You
Oh, it's
can't
very
do that.
blocky.
You wouldn't do that on that chair. So that sent a red flag up right away, but you gotta be careful with designers, architects and the like, because they're not thinking seating, they're only thinking a look. That's just a look, that's all they're thinking about. So I insisted, okay, I can do this, but you need it has to be a pleated straight skirt. It has to have a welt around it, okay, and I've already talked to them. So we could say, as our discussion, you need to do a soft treatment on the skirt, on the drop, say drop, because we don't wanna call it a skirt yet. And as we discussed, you could say. So now you need a price. So, this has to be factored really. I have to be careful with this one, because we're redesigning. We're gonna say $425 each, and there were 12 of them. So I don't think we're gonna get that job.
Malcolm, that's an ugly chair.
Isn't it? I mean, look, he's got a good point. Malcolm's got a good point. Look at that.
I said it looks very boxy.
It looks boxy. It looks like an ice cube. Whereas before, it's not bad. That's not bad.
No.
But then, maybe we shouldn't say too much.
And they're asking about
That's all, it's amazing.
customers' own fabric too.
You know what? Because of what we were talking about, that, we could use the work.
Well, I'll mention that we do sell fabrics.
We do sell fabrics, but this is a designer, remember? So they probably already have their fabric in
Well,
mind.
they haven't said anything about that yet.
Say, we do like selling our own fabrics, and you need 3.5 yards per chair. 3.5 yards per chair. And you don't have to say anything else. You don't have to mention an upcharge yet. That's probably another conversation. They might not, this might be it. You might not hear from them. I mean, 12 times 400. Well, you have to imagine how big the table is if 12 chairs can fit around it, and how big the room is with these big chairs sitting around it. These aren't small dining room chairs. And that's another thing they're doing is when you're putting a skirt on like that, you're increasing the size look of the chairs. So it's interesting that they're trying to fill in 12 chairs with more fabric to fill in a space. It must be a huge space.
And they're asking for lead time.
2 to 4 weeks. I would like to get this job.
Silence.
Alright, and then the next one is SETA.
Okay. Oh, this is nice. Oh, this is a fairly good job.
These are very interesting.
So that's nice. That's kind of like a half diamond tufted on the arms and an upholstered back. I kind of like the style. It's kind of nice. It's like a tub style on the back. It's really nice. It's a little pricey though. $3,200 for that.
For the settee?
Well, that's a sofa,
Oh, yeah,
3-seater
alright.
sofa. And in addition to that, you need, I would say,
For the sofa, you said 3,200?
yeah, and the fabric you need on that, I would say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'd say 15 yards of fabric. And they've got two. They got a host and hostess chair. We'll start with the hostess chair first, which is the smaller of the two chairs. The hostess. The hostess chair, we're going to say $1,400 plus 6 yards. That's the hostess chair. And then the chair. Usually it's a little bit taller in the back. It's pretty classic. You ready for this one? That one there, 1,600 plus 7 yards of fabric. So Janine, just to let you guys know, Janine, she's been cataloging all of these. She must have a pretty good collection of different pieces that we've featured on this with the pricing and the yardage, which is helping her a lot. I will caution you guys, I don't like anything that I've seen online for they never do pricing online. That's always, they never would do that, but the charts show yardages. I don't like the yardages that they show at all. I think most of them, so if you're going to see that chart that's very popular, there's a couple of charts, you might want to add 10. Is that it, Michaela?
Yeah, that's it.
You might want to add about 10 or 15% onto the yardage. So, but before we go, is there any other questions or comments, Patrick?
Well, I was going to thank Malcolm and Nico and other people on here for chiming in today. It's some interesting stuff.
Is there anything you want to repeat back before we say goodbye? Because we've been on now for an hour.
Yeah, we have.
We've been on over an hour and a half.
And a lot of good business information, that's for sure.
So this has been interesting. I mean, from that point, Malcolm, I could tell Malcolm has a good grasp on this, on the business end of things, probably better than I do. But
now we should take his advice, by the way, and talk to the accountant about that. Because it sounds important.
well, we may have to do that. Especially if things get a little tighter, we may have to look at that. I mean, because I will say this: when you open up a business, you want to make money. You want it at some point to make money. Sometimes that's not always the case. But when I look around me in my little section, and I compare myself to other businesses, especially, I guess it's not fair to compare myself to the restaurant business, but let's say it's just a business. But I've seen stores, not just restaurant businesses, Patrick. I've seen upholsterers come into Arlington who left after a year, didn't make a go of it in a storefront like mine. I've seen all kinds of restaurants come in and out. I've seen gift stores come and go. So I would say if I had to, in the 12 years, so we're doing something right. In the 12 years we've been in Arlington, I probably have seen a dozen stores close. Open up, right, So it's not bad. We're still here. We're still strong that way. But Malcolm seems like he's I had a boss say to me in the past, you have to find a way to break the code. Right, Patrick?
Yeah.
Did you ever hear that expression?
I think we have, for sure.
Have we, though? Breaking the code definitely means...
We're doing
does it mean breaking even?
No, we've done a lot of outside the box stuff.
Breaking the code means you've come to a point in business where you're making money. That's what that means, that you broke the code. Breaking the code of business means that you're making money.
Well, at the same time, we're not just going with the motions either. We're doing a lot of different stuff. We're trying all.
I think that's part of our success. I know that all the people that I mentioned had one idea, they opened up, and they closed with that one idea.
Yeah, we've thought about probably everything we could do with upholstery. We've at least tried it.
I think, though, we've gotten a little stale, and I'll tell you why. When I first opened up, we had the press come in. The press came in. They were excited about... At that time, press has changed, though, man. You can't get them to do anything now. But this was a local newspaper. They'd come out. They're interested in local news. They're interested in new business. I could tell you, that doesn't always happen now. Things have changed a little bit, but at that time... That was good. That got us in the paper, and they got us some momentum. And then the momentum started to slow, and we introduced the classes, and then that was advertised. And right now I feel like we need to do something else. So we will. And we're going to be here for a long time, I think, Patrick, right?
Yep.
And maybe, just maybe, we'll come to your state or your area and run one of these seminars.
You promised. You can't say maybe now.
Let's do it,
You
Patrick.
promised at the beginning of the
I'm
thing.
excited now. Let's find the energy. You're going to have to find the energy.
No,
to
we should
do it.
warn people what it's going to cost a decent. I mean, the cost? How much is it going to cost for people?
Well, we're going to advertise
It
it.
has to be worth it for us to travel.
It's going to
out
save,
there.
if people are just looking at it, it depends on who's taking the class. 'Cause somebody like Malcolm might not be interested in taking the class because we're going to advertise this first class as a inflation buster, right? This first class is what somebody says something funny.
Oh, you said inflation buster.
An inflation buster. We could get somebody, if somebody's willing to do the labor,
Now you're really
Patrick.
like a car salesman.
No. I think this is good. If somebody's willing to do the labor, their own labor, they're going to save at least half the price of a new sofa.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that? After they even pay our instructions, supplies, and fabric, it's still half the cost.
And we have to
So I'm
figure out,
done.
you know, we go to these places, it's obviously not going to be an 8-week class like we do here. It's going to have to be maybe 1 or 2 for 1 week, 3.
What you have to figure out is how are we going to get that wooden, creaky floor into these venues, and also the perfume machines and the bells and whistles. You got to figure that
Well,
out.
Jimmy, write all that up and figure it out.
Would Jimmy be willing to wear a red nose and a clown face?
Well, we definitely want to have him involved if we do this.
Oh, Jimmy would be great. We could have him out there with the sign, the wavy guy. You know. Anyhow,
Well,
well,
we'll figure it out and we'll
this
plan this
this
out.
was
It'll be
fun. This
so.
was fun today, wasn't it, Patrick?
Yeah, there's a lot of good ideas floating around.
So let's get going. We'll see you guys later.
Thanks, guys. Wow. So you're really gonna do that?